Coming up on NewsWatch Ole Miss, as a deadly fire kills one and destroys several buildings in downtown Gatlinburg, Tennessee is continuing to pick up the shambles. We have updates and more up next.
And former Mississippi governor subpoenaed in the Brett Favre fraud case. Details on this coming up.
And today is Columbus Day, but this holiday is changing every year. More coming up. NewsWatch Ole Miss starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to NewsWatch Ole Miss. I am Juliana Jackson.
And I'm McKenzie Cox. This afternoon, the Oxford Fire Department responded to a minor chemical fire at the Jackson Avenue Center. The building was evacuated, but the fire was quickly extinguished and the building is currently being ventilated. As of right now, we do not know the cause of the fire or the extent of the damage, if any, but we will keep you updated as we learn more. Oxford Fire Department asks residents to avoid the area for the time being, and they will advise when the building can reopen.
Contradicting a recent filing by the legal team of Sheldon Timothy Harrington, the man accused of murdering Jimmy J. Lee, the Lafayette County Courthouse confirmed over the weekend that the case has not yet gone to the grand jury. The most likely reason for this is that evidence still needs to be processed. Harrington is currently being held at the county jail without bond. While political leaders, including Governor Tate Reeves, boast of unprecedented revenue collections and surpluses, it is continuing to go backwards instead of forward. On average, an employee of the state of Mississippi has worked for the state for an average of 10 years, but are still being paid less than their counterparts in neighboring states. In recent legislative meetings, leaders suggest there could be a 5% increase, such as a one-year raise or smaller multi-year raise. The question everyone is asking is whether or not they have the will to do so. The irony is that record tax collectors are attributable in a large part due to inflation, and because of this rise, the cost of retail items will be raised by at least 7%. Whether or not these changes will happen, citizens will be able to notice normal everyday items raised by the year 2023.
Over the weekend, the university welcomed 26 middle and high school choirs from across the state as part of the annual Ole Miss Choral Festival. As both a workshop and competition, students had the opportunity to work with and be judged by visiting clinicians from other university choral programs. I was able to speak with Mrs. Lauren Ladner, a graduate assistant with the Ole Miss Choir, about what this opportunity means for young students in the state.
I think it's a great opportunity for students around in this area to come use our facility, but I also think it's a great performance opportunity. We're actually one of the earliest festivals in the area. A lot of the choirs seem to be viewing this as an opportunity to kind of get out there and do a festival.
And you may have noticed that today is Columbus Day, but in recent years, many people and establishments have chosen to recognize today in a different way. Various establishments and localities are choosing to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, either as an alternative or in addition to Columbus Day, as a way of commemorating the land's original residents and discoverers. Indigenous people aided Europeans throughout the country's developments, and they served as teachers, guides, and doctors. And though Europeans and Native Americans would also embark on a relationship frequently mired in conflict, Indigenous people have left an indelible mark of culture and traditions on the United States. For these reasons, the movement to acknowledge this mark began in the early 1980s, but this year represents an increased reach of the holiday's recognition across America.
Over the weekend, the Oxford Theater production of Another Side of Tennessee Williams premiered at the Powerhouse of Oxford. The production featured 4 short plays that show Williams' amazing sense of humor, as well as the passion and humanity seen in all of his plays. University of Mississippi professor Joe Atkins directed one of the plays called Pretty Trap. Atkins collaborated with other directors to pull this production together and talked about how to handle different people and personalities in order to create something special.
I love it. You know, when you're working with a theater, it's a collaborative effort. You're not in a, I do a lot of writing. Writing can be lonely. You're in your office, you're sitting there by yourself. But here you're working with people, and the creativity sort of flows through the group as everybody's exchanging ideas, and then I'm giving them ideas, they're giving me ideas and what have you. So I love that. I love that sort of collaboration.
On Saturday, the University of Mississippi hosted the 23rd International Conference for Society for Ethics across the curriculum. Reporter Abigail Graves was on site and was able to hear from keynote speaker Jason Baer.
This past Saturday at Bryant Hall, philosophy professor Jason Baer gave his insight on intellectual virtues and ethics in learning during his keynote speech.
The main goal of my talk was to address what are sometimes called the moral or ethical or civic aims of education, the idea that when we educate students, we shouldn't just be concerned with transmitting knowledge and skills, but should also be having a favorable impact on who they are as people and as citizens.
For the first time, the University of Mississippi held the 23rd International Conference for Society for Ethics across the curriculum. The conference had two keynote speakers, Brian Berkeley and Jason Baer.
Most of us care about things like developing a love of learning or critical thinking, but we often don't have the language to unpack what that really means or what it really looks like in a classroom or outside of the classroom. So I introduced the language of intellectual virtues, qualities like curiosity and intellectual carefulness and thoroughness and open-mindedness, with the hope that people would see how these qualities relate to their teaching and what they want for their students.
That was NewsWatch reporter Abigail Graves. Coming up, firefighters are hard at work after a deadly fire in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
And new updates on the Brett Favre fraud scandal. That and more coming up after the break, but first here is a look at your current conditions.
While the weather may be stunning right now, it's definitely looking to warm up throughout the start of the week. Stay tuned for your 5-day forecast.
Welcome back to NewsWatch Ole Miss. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, tweeted Sunday that he has ordered the maximum deployment of Interior Ministry and security agencies to respond to the landslide that has killed at least 25 people and left more than 50 missing in the north-central state of Aragua. After days of heavy rainfall caused by 5 streams, the city began to see devastation. More than 1,000 officials from the National Risk Management System and police officers are participating in a search and rescue operation, along with 3 days of national mourning that has started on Sunday.
And a fire broke out in downtown Gatlinburg, Tennessee on the 700 block of Parkway early Saturday morning, killing 1 person and destroying several businesses. This includes multiple popular restaurants and gift shops that were reported as a total loss. Residents are mourning the loss of a community member and these establishments, but they are praising the responsiveness and hard work of the local firefighters.
We're just here now at this point trying to support the firemen. We're cooking from Johnny Rockets. We're cooking cheeseburgers and fries and chicken sandwiches, our famous burgers and fries there, and making sure we keep them fed as they work hard over here.
The NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre's civil lawsuit over an alleged multi-million-dollar welfare fraud scandal continues to bring on more questions. Former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant is facing a subpoena related to Favre. Attorneys for the defendant, Austin Smith, say they want to see communications between the ex-athlete and the former governor and are arguing the state unfairly chose certain individuals to include in its civil lawsuit to recoup the stolen funds, noting Smith, including 37 other people, were named in the trial, but others, like Bryant, were not. The state is suing Smith for the return of more than $425,000 and is also accusing Favre of pressuring a company in which he was allegedly investigated in to seek nonprofit money. There have been no criminal charges relating to this matter, as the state's large civil suit is trying to claw back some of the funds misspent in the scheme. Former President Donald Trump faces intensifying pressures following the updates in 2 investigations relating to both the Capitol riot and classified documents found in his Florida home. Over the past weekend, he has been rallying his supporters over the issues of election integrity and what he believes to be misconduct, and targeting in a Justice Department that is overly powerful. Amy Kiley has more.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Harvey Weinstein, who is already serving more than 20 years in a New York prison for rape, is set to face trial for additional sex crime charges in Los Angeles. Jury selection began today, but the trial is expected to last several weeks as it covers multiple charges, including 4 counts of rape and 7 counts of sexual assault. If Weinstein is convicted, he faces life in prison in California. And the new iPhone 14 has caused problems for users on roller coasters. Apple's newest phone has a new crash detection feature that contacts 911, but emergency personnel have reported false alarms around the Cincinnati Kings Island amusement park during roller coaster rides. In all, 6 emergency calls have been made since the new iPhone went on sale in September. Similar reports by passengers on a roller coaster were also made by Six Flags Great America near Chicago. This crash detection feature can also be found in the Apple Watch 8. So far, the easiest solution is to put them both on airplane mode before getting on any roller coasters.
Temperature of 78 degrees. It's looking to be a pretty warm start to this week. Stay tuned for your 5-day forecast after this break. Good evening, Oxford, Mississippi. My name is Seth Parenteau, and this is your weekly weather forecast. We are looking at a current temperature of 78 here in Oxford, definitely a bit warm for what we're used to in October. And if we take a look across the rest of northern Mississippi, we'll be seeing some similar temperatures. As you can see, we have current temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s, with South Haven currently beating us all out at 81 degrees. Luckily enough, though, it will be cooling off this evening to 51 degrees, the perfect weather, in my opinion, for a nice crisp autumn walk. However, it will be warming up for tomorrow with a high of 82. So if you have any summer outfits you haven't gotten the chance to wear yet, tomorrow would be your day. And if we look across the rest of northern Mississippi, we will be seeing some more warm temperatures. As you can see, we have highs for tomorrow in the low 80s, again with South Haven beating us all out at 84 degrees. And if we take a look at our 5-day forecast, it's looking to be quite a warm week here in Oxford. As you can see, we have a weekly high of 85 on Wednesday. You'll also note that we have a light chance of rain on Wednesday. So while it only may be 18%, I definitely recommend putting an umbrella in the back of your car just in case. You'll also see that after that high on Wednesday, the temperatures mellow out a little bit to a nice tepid 77 for both Thursday and Friday. So for your weekly outlook, we'll be seeing some unseasonably warm temperatures at the start for this week. The average temperature in Oxford around this time of year is around 70 to 75 degrees, so that 85 on Wednesday will definitely feel a bit out of place. After that, though, we will be seeing some more cooler temperatures after Wednesday, with the temperatures mellowing out to a more average 77 degrees for both Thursday and Friday. We will also be seeing a slight chance of rain in the middle of the week. So like I said before, if you're going to be out and about, I definitely recommend putting an umbrella in the back of your car. That's all for me here at Weather. Be sure to keep it cool, Oxford.
The football team got it done this weekend against Vanderbilt, and reporter Cameron Smith has the breakdown of yesterday's soccer game against Texas A&M. I'll have that and more up next in sports. The Ole Miss football team is now 6-0 after Saturday's win against Vanderbilt. There were career days from Jackson Dart, Jonathan Mingo, and Jordan Watkins as the team totaled a season high of 591 total yards of offense. Vanderbilt had early momentum in the game and held a 20-17 lead going into halftime. The Rebels were able to respond in the second half, opening up with a huge defensive stop and a 24-yard touchdown from running back Zach Evans. Ole Miss went on to score 35 unanswered points and earn the win against the Commodores convincingly with the final score of 52-28. Ole Miss wide receiver Jonathan Mingo had a historic performance on Saturday, which earned him the honor of being named the SEC Co-Player of the Week. This marks the 4th consecutive week a Rebel has earned an SEC Weekly honor. Mingo has 247 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 receptions, which is the most receiving yards in a single game in program history. Mingo's performance comes as the top receiving output in the FBS this season
and he is now the SEC's leading receiver this season. Mingo and the Rebels return home this Saturday to face the Auburn Tigers for an early 11 a.m. kickoff in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. And the Rebels soccer team took a tough loss to Texas A&M yesterday afternoon. Sports reporter Cameron Smith was there to catch the action.
Welcome to another edition of NewsWatch. This afternoon, the Ole Miss Rebels took on the Texas A&M Aggies, and they also honored mental health awareness this afternoon. It was a hard-fought battle, but in the end, the Aggies got it done in a 2-1 victory. The Aggies dominated time of possession, keeping the ball away from Rebel defenders and made them work to keep the ball out of the goal. In the second half, the aggressive play continued for both teams. Lanny Carroll broke the ice and scored in the 59-minute mark to give the Aggies a 1-0 lead. When it looked like the Aggies had things locked up, turns out that they didn't. The Aggies committed a foul and gave Mo O'Connor a penalty kick, and she converted to tie it up 1-1 for the Rebels in the 84th minute mark. It was a slugfest in the second half, and another penalty by the Rebels led to a goal for Miley Hayes, and she converts in a clutch moment to give the Aggies a 2-1 victory this afternoon. The Rebels fell short in this one. However, Ashley Orcus picked up her 298th career save this afternoon, giving her the program record for the Rebels. Make sure to come out to the Ole Miss Soccer Stadium on Thursday evening when Ole Miss will host arch rival Mississippi State. I'm Cameron Smith, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
The team will look to rebound on the 13th against rival Mississippi State. Basketball season preparation is underway, and the Ole Miss men's and women's teams have finalized their schedules. With the women's basketball team being one to watch this season, they have announced more of their tip-off times that will be airing on SEC Network Plus. And the men's basketball team will play on national television for a total of 25 times throughout the season as well. Both the Rebel men and women are set to open up the regular season on Monday, November 7th at the SJB Pavilion. The women will face Kennesaw State at 5 p.m. Central Time, and the men will face Alcorn State at 8 p.m. Central Time. Both games will be aired on SEC Network Plus. Last night's Sunday night football matchup featured the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. In the first half, Baltimore took a 10-0 lead after Lamar Jackson's 11-yard scoring pass to Mark Andrews. The Bengals scored on a 19-yard pass from Joe Burrow to Hayden Hurst to tie up the game before halftime. And after the Ravens settled for a field goal in the red zone, quarterback Joe Burrow ran it in to give Cincinnati the lead. In the end, Justin Tucker kicked the game-winning 43-yard field goal to get it done for Baltimore with the final score of 19-17. The Ravens are now in first place in the AFC North Division. And that's all I've got for sports. Be sure to follow us at Rebel_Watch for the latest sports updates.
Thanks, Cameron. Coming up, it's World Mental Health Day.
Yes, and with this, we'll show you one form of therapy that just about anyone would like, coming up after the break.
If you have not heard, it's World Mental Health Day. According to a recent poll, 9 out of 10 adults believe there is a mental health crisis in the United States.
Yes, and experts say it's time to erase the stigma and raise awareness of mental health issues. Here is CNN's Mandy Gather on tips with how to deal with some of the most common mental health concerns.
A crisis in the U.S. Many Americans may not be getting the mental health help they need. 80% of those who took part in a recent poll say the cost of mental health care is a big problem. About 3/4 say that insurers not covering mental health the way they do physical health is a significant concern. And 63% are concerned about the lack of providers taking insurance.
People, I think, are really beginning to identify that mental health is just as important to address as physical health.
Anxiety is the most commonly reported mental health issue. Psychologist Kia Ray Pruitt with Cleveland Clinic says if you're feeling anxious, first identify what's behind it.
Is it fear? about something? Is it worry? Is it based off of something bad that has happened? So I think what's important is to kind of understand what's causing the anxiety.
Then Pruitt says to take a break. Think about ways you can adjust your life.
Maybe you're overcommitting yourself. Maybe you're worried about something that may never happen.
When it comes to depression, another common mental health concern, Pruitt says to be aware of the signs, which may include feeling sad or anxious often, not wanting to take part in activities you once thought were fun, feeling irritable, having trouble sleeping, and changes in appetite. If you're feeling these symptoms, talk to someone.
You don't have to be alone in the struggles.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Go.
That's all for tonight. For NewsWatch Ole Miss, I'm McKenzie Cox.
And I am Juliana Jackson. Be sure to follow us on all social media, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 5.
Thank you and good night.